The doctor's twins were always on their phones until the new nurse did something unbelievable. Emily Johnson adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder as she watched the two blonde boys sitting on the living room couch. It was her first day as a private nurse at the home of Dr. Michael Williams, a renowned surgeon from New York City, and the scene before her left her completely stunned. The 4-year-old twins, Ethan and Noah, held their phones with the same rigid posture, their tiny fingers sliding across the screens in mechanical movements. When she approached and said good morning, neither of them even blinked. It was as if she were invisible. "Ethan, Noah," she tried again, this time crouching to their level. Nothing. Their blue eyes remained glued to the glowing screens, and Emily noticed something that made her swallow hard. The children weren't playing. They were watching the same video over and over, a recording of a woman singing "Happy Birthday." "They've been like this ever since their mother left," said a voice behind her. Emily turned and saw an elderly woman with grey hair approaching, carrying a tray of snacks. "I'm Margaret. I've worked here for 5 years. I used to be the family's housekeeper, but now I only come 3 times a week for deep cleaning." "How long do they stay like this?" Emily asked, still watching the boys. "All day. They wake up looking for their devices, eat while staring at the screens, and sleep with them by their side. The doctor says it's just a phase, that it'll pass." Margaret set the tray on the coffee table. The twins didn't even notice the presence of their favorite snacks. "How long did the last nurse last?" 3 months. She left in tears on her last day, saying she couldn't bear to see those children wasting away like that. Emily felt a tightness in her chest. She was 28, had been a nurse for 6 years, and had cared for many children, but she had never seen anything like this. Ethan and Noah seemed to be in another world, completely disconnected from reality. "Is their father at the hospital?" "He's always there. Ever since Dr. Jennifer passed, he lives there. He leaves the boys with their screens so he doesn't have to deal with their crying." When Margaret left, Emily was alone with the twins. She tried several approaches throughout the morning, offering toys, attempting to talk, even playing loud music. Nothing worked. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Around noon, she decided to try something more direct. When she reached for Ethan's phone, the boy let out such a sharp, desperate scream that she immediately pulled back. Noah started crying too, still clutching his device as if his life depended on it. "Easy, easy," Emily whispered, but the screams only grew louder. Within minutes, her phone rang. It was Dr. Michael. "What's going on there?" His voice sounded irritated and tired. "I tried to take their phones away for lunch, doctor, but they don't take their phones. Ever. They need peace, Miss Johnson. They just lost their mother. I don't need someone torturing them further." "But doctor, they don't even..." "Your job is to take care of their physical health. Medicine, meals, hygiene. The rest is my concern." The call ended abruptly. Emily looked at the boys, who gradually stopped crying when they realized their devices were still in their hands. During lunch, she placed their plates beside them on the couch. The twins ate mechanically, never taking their eyes off the screens. Every now and then, one of them stretched out a hand, searching for their juice glass, without ever looking away from the video. Emily sat in a nearby armchair and began observing what they were watching. It was always the same video. A blonde woman with blue eyes just like theirs, singing "Happy Birthday" at a birthday party. The image quality showed it had been recorded several years earlier. "Mommy," Ethan suddenly murmured. It was the first word she'd heard from either of them all day. "Mommy," Noah repeated, touching the screen where the woman's face appeared. Emily felt tears welling in her eyes. Those children were living off digital memories, trapped in an endless loop of longing. That evening, when Dr. Michael arrived, she tried discussing her observations. "Doctor, I need to talk about the boys' development. They barely speak, don't interact, don't play." "Miss Johnson," he interrupted, loosening his tie, "my sons endured the trauma of losing their mother at age 2. If phones comfort them, let them have the phones. But doctor, 12 hours a day isn't healthy." 12 hours. He seemed genuinely surprised. "Yes, sir. They wake at 6 in the morning and continue until 6 in the evening. After you arrive, they keep watching until bedtime. Dr. Michael ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture Emily noticed he did when stressed. Are they physically well? Physically, yes, but emotionally? Then everything's fine. Good night, Miss Johnson. That night in her small Astoria apartment, Emily couldn't stop thinking about the twins. She researched excessive screen time effects on young children and was alarmed by her findings. The next day, she arrived determined to understand better. Margaret had left behind a family photo album, and Emily seized a moment while the boys were distracted to flip through it. Dr. Jennifer Williams had been a pediatrician, blonde like her sons with a warm smile in every photo. There were vacation pictures, shots of the boys playing at the park, ordinary moments from a happy family. She was very involved with them, said Margaret, who'd returned to collect forgotten items. She sang, played, read stories. The boys were completely different. What happened to her? Car accident 2 years ago. She was returning from a house call when a drunk driver ran a red light. The doctor never fully recovered. Emily looked back at Ethan and Noah. Now she understood why they re-watched the video of their mother singing Happy Birthday. It was their last record of normalcy. Over the following days, she noticed troubling details. The boys struggled to express themselves verbally, communicating only through gestures. Their motor skills also seemed delayed. She introduced simple activities, puzzles, coloring books, Play-Doh. But anything diverting attention from screens triggered extreme anxiety. A week later, she tried a new approach. If they were addicted to digital content, perhaps she could use that. She began recording short videos of herself doing simple tasks, stacking blocks, drawing, even eating. Then she played them on the boys' tablets. At first, they ignored them completely. But gradually Ethan started paying attention when she appeared on screen assembling a colorful puzzle. "Do you like puzzles?" Emily asked, sitting beside him with real pieces. Ethan looked at her, then at the puzzle, then back at the screen. It was the first time he'd shown interest in anything beyond his mother's videos. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers tremendously. Now continuing, Noah also began showing curiosity when she posted a video of herself singing the same song his mother sang in their favorite video. He looked at her several times, as if trying to process how she knew that song. But progress was slow and fragile. Any attempt to completely remove the devices still resulted in devastating episodes. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Dr. Michael came home early and found Emily sitting on the floor, building a block castle, while the boys watched one of their videos on her phone. "What are you doing?" he asked, clearly irritated. "I'm trying to build a bridge between the digital world and the real one, Doctor. The boys are starting to show interest." "I didn't ask you to do this, but it's working, look." Ethan had set the phone down for a few seconds to pick up a puzzle piece Emily was assembling. "Ethan," his father called, surprised. The boy looked at him, then back at the piece in his small hand. "Daddy," Ethan said, his voice hoarse from lack of use. Dr. Michael seemed moved for a moment, but quickly composed himself. "This changes nothing. I want you to stop these experiments. Doctor, please. They're starting to respond. If we keep, that's enough. Just do what you were hired to do." That night, Emily had a risky idea. If she couldn't convince the father with words, maybe she could show him more directly what was happening. She began discreetly documenting the boys' behavior. She filmed their episodes when any external stimulus upset them, recorded the hours they spent motionless staring at screens, and captured their struggles with basic activities like holding a pencil or climbing stairs. She also started timing everything: screen time, mealtime, sleep time. The numbers were alarming. At the same time, she continued with her videos, but now with a more deliberate strategy. She began incorporating elements from the boys' favorite videos while gradually introducing new things. She recorded herself singing the songs their mother used to sing while holding colorful toys. She made videos where she talked to printed versions of family photos. She created little skits where toys watched their mother's videos with her. The response was surprising. Ethan started looking for the toys that appeared in Emily's videos. Noah tried imitating some of the simple actions she demonstrated, but the biggest breakthrough came when she recorded a video of herself talking to a photo of Dr. Jennifer, telling her about the boys' day. "Your mom would be so proud of you today," she said in the video, showing drawings she'd made of Ethan and Noah playing. Noah dropped the phone and ran to her, clutching the photo of his mother on the table. "Mommy," he said, then looked at Emily. "Mommy here?" It was the first time he'd asked a question. "Mommy is always here," Emily replied, lightly touching his chest near his heart. This moment was witnessed by Dr. Michael, who had arrived quietly. Emily didn't realize he was watching from the doorway. "How did you do that?" he asked, his voice softer than it had been in weeks. "I use the language they understand," Emily answered. "Videos are how they communicate with the world, so I communicated through videos too." "But Noah, he spoke to me," he asked a question. "They're starting to trust that there are other ways to connect beyond screens." Dr. Michael sank heavily into an armchair, watching Ethan, who was now playing with building blocks while his phone lay forgotten on the couch. "I didn't know how to handle them after Jennifer," he began, his voice cracking slightly. "It was easier to let them have her videos. At least that kept them calm." "Do you also watch the videos?" Emily Johnson asked gently. He nodded, unable to speak. "Maybe it's time to create new memories, Doctor. Dr. Jennifer is still important, but the boys' lives must go on too." In that conversation, for the first time in 2 weeks, Emily saw the man behind the cold, distant doctor. Dr. Michael Williams was also a lost father, using the same escape mechanisms he had unconsciously taught his sons. "What do you suggest?" he asked. "That we work together, gradually. No rush, but with purpose." From that day on, the household dynamic began to change. Dr. Michael agreed to gradually reduce the boys' screen time, replacing some hours with guided activities. Emily implemented a transition system. They started with 15 minutes of physical activity for every hour of screen time. The boys resisted at first, but she made the activities playful and connected to the videos they loved. If they watched their mother singing, they'd sing the same song together afterward. If they saw a cartoon, they'd draw the characters on paper. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we are just starting out. Now continuing, progress wasn't linear. There were hard days, meltdowns, setbacks. Once Noah spent an entire morning crying because his tablet had died, and they couldn't find the charger. But there were also magical moments. By the end of the 3rd week, Ethan drew his first recognizable human figure. 3 people holding hands, which he identified as Daddy, me, and Noah. "And Mommy?" Emily asked. Ethan pointed upward and said, "Mommy watching." That's when Emily realized they were processing their loss in a healthier way. The first major crisis came when Dr. Michael tried to implement a full, screen-free day. The boys panicked so badly that he had to call her in the middle of the night. "They're inconsolable," he said over the phone, clearly desperate. "They won't stop crying and are vomiting from stress." Emily arrived at the house at 2 in the morning to a devastating scene. Ethan and Noah were nearly catatonic, clinging to each other on the living room floor, their eyes red and swollen. "Too fast," she murmured. "We moved too fast." She spent the rest of the night comforting the boys, letting them watch some of their mother's videos, but alternating with breathing and relaxation exercises. "We need professional help," she told Dr. Michael when the boys finally fell asleep. "This is beyond what I can do alone." "What kind of help?" "Family therapy, for all 3 of you, and maybe a child psychologist specializing in development." Dr. Michael initially resisted the idea, but after seeing his son's state, he agreed to seek help. The therapist they chose was Dr. Samantha Peterson, a psychologist specializing in childhood grief and digital addiction. Her first observation was eye-opening. "Dr. Williams, how much time do you spend watching videos of your wife?" The question caught him off guard. "I don't know. An hour or 2 each night." "And do the boys see you doing this?" "Sometimes." Children learn far more from what they observe than from what we tell them. If their father uses videos as an escape, They learn that's the normal way to handle difficult feelings. That session was a turning point. Dr. Michael realized he had unconsciously modeled the very behavior he criticized in his sons. Therapy revealed complex layers of guilt, unprocessed grief, and fear. Dr. Michael admitted that burying himself in work and letting the kids lose themselves in screens was easier than facing the reality of raising 2 children alone. Jennifer always knew what to do, he confessed during a session. She understood the boys in a way I never could. When she was gone, I felt like I had nothing left to offer them. Emily, who had been invited to join the sessions as part of the care team, felt her heart tighten. But you offer so much. You just need to learn to see it. Like what? When Ethan drew the 3 of you together, he included you. When Noah had a nightmare last week, it was your name he called. They need their father, not a digital version of their mother. The gradual reduction of screen time began in a more structured way. Dr. Samantha suggested a specific schedule, cutting 15 minutes a day, replacing it with sensory activities to aid their development. Music was the key. Emily discovered that Dr. Jennifer had been an amateur pianist, and there was a digital piano stored in one of the rooms. When they brought the instrument into the living room, the boys were fascinated. "Mommy used to play," said Noah, pressing the keys randomly. "Do you want to learn to play like Mommy?" Emily asked. The answer came in the form of 2 little blonde heads nodding vigorously. Piano lessons became the highlight of their days. Ethan showed a natural talent for rhythm, while Noah preferred experimenting with different sounds and melodies. Gradually, the videos of their mother singing were replaced by sessions where they sang and played themselves. Dr. Michael, encouraged by the therapist, began participating more actively. He discovered he had a knack for music too, and started playing with his sons on weekend evenings. "Daddy, play Mommy's song," Ethan asked one of those nights. Instead of turning to the video, Dr. Michael played the melody Jennifer used to sing to help them sleep. The boys sang along, creating a new family tradition. But the biggest challenge was yet to come. 2 months into the treatment, the boys had a severe relapse when they were exposed to phones for an extended period over a weekend when Emily was off. When she returned on Monday, she found Ethan and Noah practically catatonic again, with dark circles under their eyes and signs of dehydration. "What happened?" she asked Dr. Michael, who also looked exhausted. "I had an emergency surgery on Saturday. I left them with the tablets to keep them quiet. When I came back on Sunday, they were like this, and I couldn't snap them out of it." Emily checked the device's history and found the boys had spent 14 straight hours watching the same videos on loop. "We need medical intervention," she said, worried about their dehydration and overall state. Dr. Michael took his sons to the hospital where he worked. The pediatrician who examined them was shocked by their condition. "Dr. Michael, these children show signs of extreme physical exhaustion. What's going on?" As embarrassing as it was, he explained the situation. The pediatrician was blunt. "If this continues, you could face serious neurological development issues. This isn't just a preference anymore, it's a medical concern." That was the wake-up call Dr. Michael needed. Seeing his own children hospitalized because of something he'd allowed made him take a drastic decision. "We're removing all devices from the house," he told Emily at the hospital. "Completely." "Doctor, we need to do this gradually. If we take everything away at once..." "No. Enough. I'd rather deal with their crying now than see them hospitalized again." Emily knew it would be hard, but she agreed to support him. They prepared the house by removing all tablets, extra cell phones, and even the television. They left only the piano and a carefully selected assortment of toys and books. The first week was hellish. The boys cried, screamed, refused to eat, and had nightmares. Dr. Michael almost gave up 3 times, but Emily and Dr. Samantha supported him in sticking to the decision. "They're going through a real detox," the psychologist explained. "It's hard, but necessary." On the 5th day, something changed. Ethan, exhausted from crying, went to the piano and began playing a simple melody he had learned. Noah joined him, and for the first time in days, the sound of joy filled the house. "They're coming back," Dr. Michael whispered to Emily. By the 8th day, real progress began to show. The boys played together, talked more, and asked questions about the world around them. Their motor skills improved dramatically. 2 weeks after the detox, Emily arranged something special. With Dr. Michael's help, she created a physical memorial for Dr. Jennifer, a corner in the living room with photos, personal items, and letters she had written for the boys to read when they were older. "Now you can visit Mommy whenever you want," she explained, "and she can see how you're growing and learning new things." Ethan touched one of the photos and said, "Mommy, look, I can play the piano just like you." Noah picked up one of the letters, and though he couldn't read it fully, pretended to read it aloud, inventing tender words he imagined his mother would have written. Dr. Michael cried at the sight. It was the first time the boys had interacted with their mother's memory in an active, creative way, not just passively. 3 months later, the transformation was remarkable. Ethan and Noah played normally, had neighborhood friends, and took swimming and music lessons. Screen time was limited to 30 minutes a day, just for video calls with their paternal grandmother, Mrs. Barbara, who lived in Rochester. Dr. Michael also changed his routine. He cut back on hospital hours, started having dinner with the boys every night, and introduced new family traditions like music nights and weekends at the park. Emily became far more than a nurse to the family. She was a confidant, an advisor, and gradually a substitute mother figure for the boys. They called her Aunt Em and ran to hug her every morning. But not everything was settled. 6 months into the treatment, a new challenge arose. The boys began asking more complex questions about their mother and Emily's place in their lives. "Aunt Em, are you going to leave like Mommy did?" Noah asked one afternoon as they played the piano together. The question caught Emily off guard. She glanced at Dr. Michael, who was in the room sorting papers, and realized he was waiting for her answer too. "Why do you ask that, Noah?" "Because I really like you and I'm scared you'll leave and not come back like Mommy." Ethan moved closer and took Emily's hand. "Mommy didn't choose to leave," she explained carefully. "There was an accident no one wanted to happen, but I choose to be here with you every day." "What if you change your mind?" Noah pressed. Emily looked again at Dr. Michael, who had stopped pretending to be busy and was watching them openly. "People who truly care don't change their minds like that, Noah. When you really love someone, you stay." "Like Daddy stays with us?" "Exactly like Daddy stays with you." That night, after the boys were asleep, Dr. Michael found Emily in the kitchen, where she was finishing up organizing the next day's medications. "Can we talk?" "Of course, Doctor." "Michael, call me Michael." She smiled. In 8 months of working at the house, it was the first time he had asked to be called by his first name. "Noah's question today," he began, clearly nervous, "made me think about some things." "What kind of things?" "About what this family has become. About the role you play in my children's lives, about other things." Emily felt her heart race, but kept her expression neutral. "They've grown very attached to you," Michael continued, "and so have I. It's natural. I've spent so much time here taking care of them." "It's more than that, Emily. You brought life back into this house, not just for the boys, but for me too." She didn't know how to respond. She had felt the same way, but never considered the possibility it might be mutual. "I hired a nurse and found—" He paused, searching for the right words. "I found a family." "Michael, I know it's complicated. I know there are professional boundaries involved, but I want you to know you're not just an employee here anymore. You're part of this family, and I'd like to make it official." Emily felt tears welling in her eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you, and I want us to build something together, you, me, and the boys." It was a moment of emotional revelation neither had planned, but it felt inevitable after everything they'd been through together. "I love you too," she whispered, "but I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "That this will change things, that if things don't work out between us, I'll lose the boys too." Michael stepped closer and took her hands. "That won't happen. No matter what happens between us, you'll always be part of their lives, I promise." Even with that promise, Emily hesitated. She'd seen too many professional relationships get complicated when personal feelings were involved. "We need to think about this carefully," she said, "for the boys." "I agree, but I want you to know my feelings are real." "Mine too." They decided to take things slow, continue family therapy while navigating this new dynamic, and see how the boys gradually adjusted to the changes in their relationship. Dr. Samantha was instrumental in this process, helping everyone navigate the complexities of a blended family, especially considering the grief still lingering and the emotional dependence the boys had developed toward Emily. It's important you build a strong foundation as a couple before formalizing anything in front of the children, she advised. Ethan and Noah have already been through so much change. They need stability. Over the following months, Michael and Emily discreetly developed their personal relationship, focusing first on being good parents to the boys. They shared dinners after the kids were asleep, talked about future plans, and got to know each other's families better. Mrs. Barbara, the boys' grandmother, was one of the first to notice the shift in the family dynamic during one of her visits. "Michael seems different," she remarked to Emily while they prepared lunch. "Lighter, more present." "The doctor has been very dedicated to the boys, and to you too, from what I can see." Emily blushed. "I don't know what you mean." "Oh, I do, dear. I'm 68 years old and I have eyes in my head. And I can tell you, this is the best thing to happen to this family since Jennifer passed. Don't you think it's too soon? That we're disrespecting Dr. Jennifer's memory?" Mrs. Barbara stopped peeling potatoes and looked straight at Emily. "My dear, Jennifer loved this family above all else. If she could choose someone to care for her children and make my son happy again, it would be someone exactly like you." "How can you be sure?" "Because I knew Jennifer's heart. She was generous and loving, and she wanted everyone around her to be happy. She would never want Michael to spend the rest of his life alone, or for the boys to grow up without a mother figure." This conversation helped Emily process her own guilt about falling in love with Michael. She had worried about betraying Jennifer's memory, but began to understand that honoring that memory meant continuing to give love and care to the family. The turning point came on the first anniversary of Emily's arrival in the family. The boys, now 5 years old, had developed remarkably. They spoke normally, played creatively, had healthy relationships with other children, and had learned to cope with missing their mother in a constructive way. They prepared a surprise for Emily, a musical performance where they played the piano and sang a song they had composed with their father's help. "Aunt Em, our hero," they sang, off-key but full of love. "You saved us from the phone, taught us how to play for real." Emily cried throughout the entire performance. When it ended, Ethan and Noah ran to hug her. "Aunt Em, we have a question," said Ethan, looking at his father for encouragement. "What question, sweetheart?" "Do you want to be our real mom?" asked Noah. "Not to replace Mom Jennifer," Ethan quickly explained, "but to be our second mom, the mom who's here with us." Emily looked at Michael, who was smiling with tears in his eyes. "That depends on many things," she answered carefully. "Does it depend on you saying yes to marrying Dad?" Noah asked with the bluntness typical of children. "Noah," Michael scolded, laughing. "I was supposed to ask that first. Then ask Dad." Michael knelt in front of Emily, under the eager gaze of his sons. "Emily Johnson, you brought our family back to life. You taught us to love again, to live again, to be a real family. Will you marry me and officially become the mother of these two little rascals?" "Yes," she replied without hesitation this time. "Yes, I will." The boys cheered with joy and jumped on them, creating a mess of hugs and laughter. 6 months later, they married in a small garden ceremony at home. Ethan and Noah were the ring bearers. Mrs. Barbara was the matron of honor, and a photo of Dr. Jennifer was placed in a place of honor to include her in the celebration. On the wedding day, Noah gave a speech that moved everyone. "Today, Aunt Em is going to become our real mom, but she's been our mom in our hearts for a long time. She taught us that we don't need to be sad on our phones to remember Mom Jennifer. We can remember her by playing, singing, and being happy." A year after the wedding, the family was unrecognizable compared to when Emily first arrived. The house was full of life, musical instruments scattered about, children's drawings on the walls, sounds of laughter and play. Ethan and Noah, now 6, were preparing for their first year of school. Their social and academic skills had developed normally, with no traces of the delays caused by digital dependency. Screen time had been reintroduced in a controlled way, 30 minutes a day, only for educational content or video calls with family. The boys didn't even ask for devices anymore, preferring physical and creative activities. Michael had shifted his career, accepting a position at a smaller hospital that allowed more flexible hours. He discovered that being a present father was far more rewarding than being an absent, renowned surgeon. Emily continued working as a nurse, but now in her own practice, helping families facing similar situations. Her experience with Ethan and Noah made her a reference in treating childhood digital dependency. Dr. Jennifer's memorial remained an important part of the home. The boys visited regularly, telling her about their achievements, showing drawings, playing new songs. They had learned that remembering a loved one could be a joyful activity, not just a sad one. On a Sunday afternoon, 2 years after the wedding, the family was gathered in the living room. Michael played the guitar, Emily sang, Ethan was at the piano, and Noah tried playing a small drum he'd gotten for his birthday. "Mom Em," Ethan suddenly said, using the nickname they'd created to distinguish her from Mommy Jennifer. "Do you remember when we used to just be on our phones all the time?" "I sure do, sweetheart. It feels like a long time ago." "It was a long time ago," Noah agreed. "Now we know how to do so many things." "And what do you like better, the phones or real playtime?" Emily asked. "Real playtime," they answered in unison. "Why?" "Because with real playtime, you're actually with us," Ethan explained. "And we can hug you for real, not just touch a screen," Noah added. Michael stopped playing and looked at his wife with a smile of pure gratitude. "You saved our family," he whispered to her. "We saved our family," Emily corrected. "Together." That night, after the boys had fallen asleep, Michael and Emily sat in the garden, reflecting on how their lives had changed. "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if you hadn't insisted on helping," Michael said. "You would have found a way. Parents who love always find a way. But maybe not as quickly, maybe not as completely. What matters is that we did. And look where we are now." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the distant sounds of the city and the soft noise of the baby monitor, transmitting the boys' steady breathing. "You know what's the most amazing thing?" Emily said. "What?" "How a situation that seemed hopeless became the foundation of such a strong family. Do you think Ethan and Noah will remember this time when they grow up? Maybe not the details, but certainly the feelings. They'll remember they were loved enough for someone to fight for them. And you? How will you remember this story?" Emily smiled, thinking of everything they'd been through. "As the story of how I learned that sometimes, to save someone, you end up saving yourself too." The end. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Emily made the right decisions, and Dr. Michael, do you think he became the father the boys needed? Leave your honest opinion in the comments, and don't forget to hit like if the story touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that will move you.